background on myself. This thing all started, I guess, about 13 years ago with groups of black people that just figured out that they wanted to learn a little more about themselves. So as a result, you had what is, well, long before 13 years ago, you had what is about 14 years ago, we had a group of people called the ASCAC. And ASCAC started up, I think in 1994. And it basically was a study of classical African civilization. And from that, you had several other groups that were starting up around the same time in the late 80s. You know, you had the researchers of the Nation of Islam. The Moors started researching about the late 80s also. Several other conscious groups also. As well as it still filtered into the whole rap craze, you know, with X-Clan, Public Enemy. You know the basic history where black people started coming into some type of sense of awareness of themselves that we have every 20-something years, maybe every 25 years or something like that. And all. And if you do cycles and go back from the 60s, maybe around about 30 years, but from the 60s, the 30s, even the early 20s, even the 20s or the late, certain cycles, you'll find that we always type of rear our heads up. And so we have a big resurgence of history. You know, Dr. Ben, John Henry Clark, for the people who saw Ashwakwezi, which would actually be the legacy of Dr. Ben, or what would be the continuation of Dr. Ben's commentary. And so in so many words, we had the whole historical thing, Francis Cress Wilson, black psychology, Naeem Akbar, you know, the whole deal. Wade Nobles, a whole host of scholars. And my entry came into this is, I was a part of the whole scholar movement and the whole, the ASCAC thing and just the whole phenomenon with Ben and Clark and his whole research of all this history. As well as, you know, the research of the Nation of Islam and all types of stuff that started happening in the late 80s and early 90s. My entry came into this when I kind of got, you know, when your eyes open, you know, when you're dead, you know, when you ignorant, basically things go pretty good for you. But when your eyes start to open, what happens is, at first it's just a revelation just to be learning all this knowledge, and then when you start looking at your doggone people and seeing the madness out here and all, you become angry. And you get more and more pissed and stuff because of the simple fact that we was taught to go about our people like it was taught in the 60s. And the 60s is we get these mass movements. We get these mass movements and everybody's going to become conscious and we all going to raise ourselves up. And just like the people in the 60s when the government started passing out money and all kind of free stuff in the 70s, and the people started running, the black people in the 60s were walking around here like they got their head cut off. They didn't know what to do. And they didn't understand that the greater culture really controls its subjects. And we are never at a time that we are not in some type of addiction of niggerism, if you want to say, a niggers anonymous or whatever. We, you know. So so we always thought that in actuality, if you just applied this particular knowledge, that people would wake up. And we didn't understand that nothing ever is done on a mass form. Everything is always done with a small group. And this is the way of the universe, from the atom down to any intricate part of any type of nature, scientific element, or anything. You never have a mass form of anything. And the Europeans who actually ruled over us got that science from the Africans. You know, we're talking about a small group of people ruling over a large group of people. It just so happened in our side, in our aspect, the flip side of this was that we ruled based on priesthoods and based on evolution of spirituality and knowledge and education. Whereas we even taught the Europeans this in more explains, which we're going to get into tonight, some other aspects I want to show you exactly what they're trying to coin right now as far as what they're trying to lead to as far as where the secret societies and the people who rule us are actually focusing on right now in the year 2000 and beyond. But anyway, Just like everybody else, your eyes get open and you really get upset because you find out in actuality it's not an easy job. Even if the people get knowledge, it's not like they're going to be freed overnight. So as a result, I took the task upon myself and all, and I guess I was called for it spiritually to even go into another level. And another level was that Dr. Ben and all the great scholars was talking about the history, but they always mentioned the mystery, but no one could really go into what the mysteries were. At that particular time, the only thing we had was George G.M. James' book, Stolen Legacy, and they were thinking the mysteries was nothing but the seven liberal arts of education, but it wasn't necessarily that way. The mystery was the esoteric teachings and much greater, profound information other than just the basic education. So we said that the Egyptians, and we said that the ancient people were not necessarily studying history, they were living history. So it's almost like we got to a certain point and we just thought that the history was the actual knowledge and it wasn't. Meanwhile, we know that they had the groups, the European groups was dealing with what they call the so-called New Age, was nothing but they had cultivated all our ancient knowledge and put it under a new banner, put it under a new science and all, basically a new classification, and in so many words, was passing it off as theirs. And so what you had as far as, even when blacks looked at this stuff, they were saying, oh, that's that white stuff. But it wasn't necessarily that. It was just what they call the Western mysteries was in actuality the ancient African mysteries. And that's what we're going to get in also tonight, too. This word, the Western mysteries, because that's one of the keys, which is actually Moorish science, which the way they were taught in actual Europe. So in so many words, I got into this particular stuff to uncover the deep esoteric teachings, which was what did our people learn on a higher level. And as a result, I've been into an 8-year research into this particular science. So we're not necessarily just talking about stuff to feel, but we're actually talking about disciplines and sciences that in so many words, it is just as much a high science as any of the stuff that we learn in the universities and all, which is actually a byproduct of some greater science. So as a result, I embarked upon this about 8 years ago, and I've traveled around the country and I've done over maybe 250 videos, all being anywhere from 6 to 8 hours long, and it's just that much information, as well as my input into this is purely research, whereas I give a lot of bibliography, and so therefore it's not just put out as something that there's some crazy person that's talking. Because this stuff becomes to the extreme sometimes, it is important that I found out early on that we would have to document. Now you're not necessarily saying you're going to get everything out of a book, but the thing about it is you have to lay a foundation that you can, that whatever you say that you get from the spirit realm or any other type of information called empirical evidence, at least the scholarship validates you to understand that you might know what the hell you're talking about. So basically we do give heavy scholarship and all, for the simple fact that we're not necessarily in a type of movement where we're trying to get anybody to join anything. This is basically purely research, and what was supposed to happen was the black people that learned of us, and when I say learned of us, I'm not talking about just college education. Because one thing about it, I spent 8 years in college and learned nothing. But what I'm saying is, when I'm talking about the learned of us, I'm just talking about anybody that has an inquiry for higher knowledge. What we were supposed to have been doing in the late 80s and the early 90s is coming together with an intelligentsia. That means a research group, other than a group of people following people, like cult members and stuff, where you following these particular people, and these people telling you not to deal with some other stuff, you don't need to be dealing with these people over here. What we needed was an advanced group of people to do research. That means put the pieces back together of our ancient history and our ancient mysteries and our advanced sciences. Too often what had happened is, somewhere when we started getting this together in the early 90s, the government came in and they activated all these groups. And these particular groups, they activated, they came in and they introduced to the black community was to lead people astray. You get in these groups, and at first it's just a great thing, but then after 2 or 3 years, and you find out in actuality that you're being exploited, or somehow down the line the learning stopped, and basically you just ended up following this particular person spending an extraordinary amount of money. Then what happens is you leave these groups and you're disenfranchised. You'll either go back to the church, you'll either go back to, you'll either just basically say, I don't want anything to do with it, to do with this stuff. And what we didn't realize was at this particular time, we are very advanced that we need people to go out and do research. And some research is not necessarily even just talking about the academia and books. We're just talking about empirical evidence and stuff, whereas since 1996, we've done a whole vast study on how they basically emptied out the projects all across the country. And we go to each, well, at least I go to each city, and we got people missing all over in the projects. We're talking about, they came in Atlanta and the entire underclass system is gone. They literally wiped out the entire underclass, you see. And right under the people's nose, the people walking around like it's 1972, they don't even have a clue. And that's because the government has become so advanced until we're no match for them. We're talking about being subjects. And what we mean by that is they come in and they give you some information that's 20 years old. And you're thinking this is the key technology, but yet they're doing things 40, 50 years up ahead of time. You would never catch up because your mind is not even programmed and trained to understand that this man is that advanced. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, he can go and do anything around you, and you will never catch on. And it's always 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, we're just learning about this stuff. Just like they got some black group, something Zero was telling me on the internet where some soldiers threw some rock or something, one soldier hit some officer in Alabama somewhere, and they killed up I think a whole platoon of these people, mowed them down. Yeah. You see, we're just not learning about this stuff now. And that's the key, is because we're never aware of things because we don't ask the doggone question. And we never challenge anything. We never challenge anything. And it's not necessarily just black people. America is that sophisticated. It's that advanced, so they even keep large population of white people ignorant. Therefore, you're looking at them as a model, and you don't understand that they don't know nothing either. And this is the key, so they can rule over all of us by keeping large, the greater population ignorant. And in so many words, that this is a great experiment. It's an experiment for Europe and the highest powers around the world. And they say this is an alternative land that we can do all types of experiments with. Exactly. And so, in so many words, we don't catch up in time to the point whereas these people can hit us because we're never on the offensive. We're always on the defensive. But what we don't realize is when they hit us, it might take us 20 years to regroup, even if we're thinking that there's something to regroup from, because most of us just basically take the banging and just keep on. You see, and never really ask questions. So as a result, we've opened up a whole field of study into advanced mysteries that the European is now calling New Age, metaphysical, occult, which means that which is hidden. But we're thinking that this is some type of spooked out stuff that some hippies brought up in the 60s, and we don't know that these people cultivated all of our particular stuff that was taught to them in the 700 years of Spain. In the 700 years of Spain, these people cultivated all this particular information and renamed it, took the racial identity out of it, you see, and basically these people are in this stuff lock, stock, and barrel. You see, so, lock, stock, and barrel. So, what we're going to do is, we need a new type of thought pattern, whereas this is not the type of information where we're trying to follow someone. Or basically, we want you to sign your name and we want you to commit to be with us, and you know, the same thing. And I can see why some of our people are scared to go out to certain meetings and stuff. They don't want to commit to no strange group. And so what we're talking about here is the same type of education. The same type of education is no different than you going and taking any type of course in America to learn some greater information. So what we're going to do is you got a bucket?
Whoa.
The libation thing?
Let me see if I can find one. Yeah. Looking.
What is it, a trash can?
Yeah.
Is it clean? Is there a bag in it or something? That's good. That pan is good. That pan is good. This is ancient African. This is an ancient African ritual of libations, and basically what this is doing is advanced high science. There's an old saying that there was a Briton or an Englishman traveling in Africa, and he saw that the African gave the tree a bowl of milk. So the British said, "You silly African, the tree can't drink the doggone milk. Why would you give a tree a bowl of milk?" And the African said, "Stupid, I know that the tree physically can't drink a bowl of milk, but everything down here has an astral body or a field or a spirit. And so the spirit is receiving the actual milk because we're talking about a higher plane." So what was going on, the Briton that was thinking that he was so advanced, which was so ignorant, didn't understand that the Africans were dealing on a higher level of spirituality. A higher level of spirituality. So to give you an example, I think give an example. My ex-girlfriend and I, she used to work the Atlanta Journal and Constitution, which is the main paper. And she had this white boy that graduated from Berkeley. Graduated from Berkeley, you know, out there in California. So, you know, he big time, you know, neo-hippie and all. But, you know, they get into all types of things. So he was like, "Listen, we're going to this vegetarian restaurant up the street." And so, up the street and all, they said they serve bowl-type food and all. So he's like, "Cool, I want to go with you." So I said, "Yeah, well, come on, let him go and stuff, because I'm trying to feel this boy out." So we got there and all, and he's sitting there and all, and he's looking, he see all this stuff around my neck. And then after a while, he's talking down. I said, "Sooner or later, see, I don't appreciate we coming and you giving me this little small talk. You see what I'm saying? I know you patronizing me. I know when you get around your damn people, you don't give nobody no small talk. So I don't want to hear nothing about nobody coming to me asking about how about them Braves or how about them Yankees. You should feel that that's an insult, so probably somebody's going to come up to you and ask you about the fucking Yankees. But then again, they know that 98% of black people going to respond to that rule. So after a while, we was up in there and the white boy started talking about, yeah, you know, because he looked at all this stuff on the chest, so he figured that, hey, I'm going to really get into some stuff. He said, "Well, you know, there was Egyptians, we found out they doing brain surgery, and they was doing all this type of stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, you know," and I was riveting, I'm saying, "Yeah, you know, the Western man is just now getting into half the stuff that we was doing, or 1/3 of the stuff that we was doing, and half the mysteries are lost." And so I said, you know, and he said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "Well, listen," I said, you might cut up 1,000 animals and dissect 1,000 animals and take you 100 years to find out that a certain thing is going this way. Whereas the African used to observe the animal and would observe nature and would come up with the right conclusion and bypass all of the guinea pig stuff." And I said, well, the African understood an advanced form of science where he could take a coconut, he could take an egg, he could take some cornmeal, and he could take several things, and he could cure the body of all types of ailments, cancer, disease, and also different types of cancers, different types of injuries and stuff, with just basically doing correspondence with nature. The white boy said, "Hold on, now, I got your ass now." See, there it is again, because he's thinking that we are the so-called quote-unquote educated. He said, "Now, I got you now." He said, "You're going to have to explain to me how the African is going to come in and he's going to do all of this great work with some fruits, some form of plants, some form of vegetables, and some form of metals, like I say, wheat, corn. You're going to have to explain to me how he's able to heal the body from all these things." Now, apparently they have these elaborate rituals in Africa, but over the years, because we're talking about a place that's millions of years old, and over the years, the rituals, the explanation of the advanced science on how these rituals work have disappeared. They don't know how they work, but they still have a tradition where they know, based on the priests, they go and dip these things to cure the body. Although the original explanation of the chemical, alchemical, and physiological, metaphysical explanation is gone. they still can perform these rituals and cure people. So he was like, well, you're going to have to explain to me how. And so I just basically went into the detailed files, because we can do that. You know, you just do something just like the movie Green Mile. They said, the guy said, well, where you going? He said, we're going to see this woman. They said, how did you know? He said, I just know.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about other levels of intellect and other levels of spirituality. So I just went into the detailed files. I said, well, listen, it's simple. I said, you have what is in your body electromagnetic force fields, right? He said, oh, yes, electromagnetic force fields and all of this type of stuff, you know, and different rhythm patterns. I said, yeah. I said, so the African, only thing he would do is he would understand that everything that's in your body would have what it is a correspondence in nature, or an equivalent in nature, that he could correspond with it, and he can match up electromagnetic force field with some product out of nature with the electromagnetic force field in your body, and he could actually cure it based on vibration, based on frequency, and based on certain energy patterns, based on the correspondence of what he would substitute out here in nature. White boy said, damn. I guess you're right. Now, the thing about it is I had no idea how a ritual that was lost damn near 2,000 years ago would work this way. But then again, on the other hand, how the hell did the Africans come up with it in the first place? But through some higher form of spirituality. You see what I'm saying? So therefore, nothing is never really lost. You see, nothing is never really lost. Now, basically, even when you're talking about the whole healthcare thing, these white boys have a lot of this stuff already. They have a lot of this stuff that they know 2,000 years ago. They know about the last 140 years going into Egypt, conquering India, conquering Australia, conquering all the indigenous land, conquering Africa. They have all this stuff. And they'll say, hold on, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We got all this stuff. We somehow know how it works, or we somehow have some type of idea. We would rather hang on to the knowledge or hang on to the information almost 100 years until we find out our scientific equivalent on how we can explain this on our European level. Then they'll come out and they'll give you this, well, a good great breakthrough in science, and you're going, damn, that white man hell. You see, this is a form of mind control. Meanwhile, they're working around the clock off of stuff that they got from the ancient indigenous world 100 years ago, 90 years ago. They're always doing stuff. If they got all the answers to all the science and all the answers to all the technology, why the hell are they still over there digging all around the world? Right. You see what I'm saying? Anthropology, archaeology. So apparently they know this higher science exists, but they would rather say it doesn't exist. Hang on to it 50 years, 75 years, until they find out an equivalent of their little byproducts of what little rote learning that they learned from us 700 years ago in Spain. And they say, no, this is the way we're going to look at all types of study has to come from the European approach. And if it's outside of that, we will hang on to it and say it doesn't exist. That's some voodoo, some hocus pocus shit, until they find out the equivalent. You see what I'm saying? Then they'll come out and say, guess what we got? Ooh, new breakthroughs in science. And you're going, oh, wow, that's some genius stuff. Meanwhile, you got an African priest or you got a grandmama in Alabama doing the same shit, but you say that's some crazy stuff. You know the whole thing where I went up, had an abscess in 1990, went to the doggone, I didn't even have no money. I went to the free clinic. Went in there and all, got the stuff, but still had to pay $40 for the medicine. Paid the $40 to get some antibiotics and stuff. I got to wait almost a week, can't drink no milk, can't drink no alcohol, you know the whole deal, can't have no sex or whatever. And I'm there that night, ass out. Jaws swole up, no money in my pocket. And the sister came in and said, well, goddamn. I wish you would have told me about I wish I saw you yesterday. All you had to do is go get you a $99 bottle, 99-cent bottle of liver extract, and put it on there, and it takes it away in a couple of minutes. So my grandmama taught us that. Get you some liver extract and put on the doggone, on the abscess, and it takes it down at night. You know what I'm saying? And I'm stuck here in all them going 2 days with the so-called antibiotics, and I put it on that night, and the whole thing left that night. You see, but how did that grandmama know that down in Alabama, down in Texas? But then again, we get all educated now. And so therefore, we think that that's foolishness when you put the fat back in the penny You know what I'm saying? On the damn sprained ankle. And we don't understand that that is doggone alchemy. That is high science is coming from the collective unconsciousness, detailed out. They don't know how they do it, they just do it. You know what I'm saying? They just do it. They don't know how the hell they can put some shit in a pot and make some damn greens taste a certain way. It's just science. You saying, oh, that ain't nothing, but let that white person do it, and you find out and say, don't taste it. All this bland shit, they can't do it because we're talking about a higher science. But the thing about it is they know it. We don't know it. Let me give you an example. When the Black Masons started out, especially in the 20th century, and they started getting this stuff so that they could get their lodges together, they were not able to use the Duncan's Ritual Complete. You can get that now. You can buy them in Barnes & Noble. That's the Masonic Duncan's Ritual Complete. So they had a guy named Charles Wesley Dobbs down in Atlanta. Yeah. Now, Dobbs is the grandfather of Major Jackson, who happened to be one of the first black mayors in the country. So Charles Wesley Dobbs went and made him a doggone Masonic manual. He made him an own ritual book, and black Masons around the country used the Dobbs book. Okay. Then when the white people decided they were going to let black people use the Duncan's Ritual Complete, the black Masons abandoned the Dobbs book. And guess what? The white people picked up the Dobbs book. Because they know that we are the genuine shit. You get this? So the white people came in and they picked up the Dobbs book. And now they're using the Dobbs book. And the black people are using the Duncan's Ritual Complete, which is some white boy's book. Because we're trying to imitate them while they're imitating us. You see? So they understood. They said, here's a black man that creates his own ritual book in the turn of the century. This man, in the 30s and 20s, I forgot when it was. I know it was the first part of the 20th century. This is more authentic because it's coming from the original people. Right. Not only did they use the Dobbs book, they got Charles Wesley Dobbs Avenue in Atlanta. It's right on the side of Macy's. It's right in the middle of Macy's. Now you have the big tall Peachtree Plaza, which is actually the building that made Atlanta back in 1986, 76 when they built that. Atlanta became an international city just by architecture. But the actual Dobbs Street is right down in the middle of white people's serious stuff. You see, so they worship us. You understand? We don't think shit is authentic. So this is a form of mind control that they're putting on us. So the libations basically is a series of entities, or what we call gods, which in actuality, when you break down this real high form of these gods, they're formulas. And these formulas are inside of your body. So when they used to pour the libations, in actuality, they was energizing your own body. Right. And so therefore, here it is again, this whole electromagnetic force. You pour these libations before court, look like things gonna go your way. You see what I'm saying? If you pour these things in court, things will go your way. You see, so these are things on a high science, but then again, they have trained us, if it don't come out of the European mindset, it has to be in Sirius. So what the European has now done is he's saying, hey, that not only is the European thought superior, they're saying if your thought pattern in the world now is outside of the so-called European thought, you're not even human. You don't even exist. You're clandestine. That's what this whole World Wide Web, what they call globalization. Globalization what? Who the hell you globalization? That's another form of high-tech imperialism. Whereas your mindset has to be functioning in their European thought pattern of guess what? You don't even exist. You are null and void. You are clandestine. You understand how this goes? Right. So if they're saying if it's not European thought, it's not even valid. Right. You see what I'm saying? So now you got thousands of people, the Caribbean, Africa, Asians. You see what I'm saying? All the people on the earth are now trying to be the doggone European, the caveman. You got thousands of people in retreat. What's that, brother?
Well, actually, I was talking to this brother who started an internet business last week, and he told me something that kind of shocked me. He said that the whole internet system and the World Wide Web is owned by the United States government.
Oh, I wouldn't let me give you another example to break this down. You know the whole Y2K thing that didn't go off like a hitch. It didn't go off like we thought it was going to go off. And it got everybody scared. And I don't know, we couldn't find water in Atlanta for 2 weeks. So we had to run on the stove. And I knew when my boy went into Clark Atlanta, the black college, and he hit the computer at Clark Atlanta, the day after Y2K, or 2 days after Y2K, and it came on purpose. He said, you know, that's the biggest hoax in the world. Because if anybody's going to be incompatible, it's going to be the black colleges. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody going to not have that shit working, you go to Clark, Orange Brown, Morehouse, whatever, you know the black college is going to be the first one on the bottom of the list. So when that damn computer came on, you know, now I know I went to these schools, I know. When that computer came on, you best believe he knew that was the biggest hoax ever. But the key is this, which is about the internet thing, is this. Which is interesting. I can give you have to piggyback off of what's coming. You know that they said a lot of people from 1995 to year 2000, they got rich off of the internet. They got rich. This whole Y2K thing was if you didn't somehow get your business started to the particular point in that 5-year picture window, the market would be flooded because everybody's going to be running to the internet. And it's just like the stock market now. You know, the stock market, you got to get in on the ground level, you see what I'm saying, before it becomes a Microsoft. You see, on that particular level. Which was the same thing about that. The Y2K thing was, it had something to do with not necessarily these computers shutting down. It had something to do with this worldwide web as far as you becoming millionaires. By 2000, it would just be a regular service, just like the doggone U.S. mail. Because why? Because now you got so many websites so you can get swallowed under. Right. You know what I'm saying? You go there right now and click on the word black bitches, and you get 3,000 damn sites. I'm serious. I know brothers that did this thing. Type in black bitches, excuse the expression, there's 2,000 sites. African science, African history, 2,000 sites, 1,000,000 sites. So you can get plowed under. What they were talking about here was, they were talking about if you didn't get a certain amount of investment, or a certain amount of, you get your thing off, before 2000, it was going down to being virtually impossible for you to become multi-millionaires on the internet. Now then the internet becomes just a tool that you can use for your business. But as far as these people that got rich, you see what I'm saying? That whole thing now, because everybody is running to it. You see what I'm saying? Websites popping up every hour. So what happens is you get plowed under. So that's another thing also he's talking about here. But the point here is we have to break this mentality that anything out of the European conventional frame is invalid. You know what I'm saying? Is invalid. We have to break this particular thing and free our doggone mind. Whereas at this particular time, anything, if it, you know what, this thing has gotten so bad because if it's logical, rational, makes common sense, it probably ain't for you. More than likely, if you can think of it in your mind and make sense in a crazy ass world like this, you're going to find out in actuality that's not the way to go. It's to go against the grain. Because what is creation anyway? What is any type of advanced thought? 98% of anybody that does anything outside of the box is called crazy before it becomes the paradigm and the norm. You get where I'm coming from here? Yeah. So right now, if your mind is thinking on a rational, logical level of common sense, 98% of the time, you ain't doggone grazing the grass. And that means that we got to go higher than that to the point where everything that you think sounds crazy, if you just deal with it in a week's time, it will become the norm. And you can look at other people and say, man, they're so conventional that they are dead. You see what I'm saying? Give you another example. So brothers, you know, he's into the black consciousness, but he's so much into the political struggle. You know, he's studying poli-sci and business and getting his master's in business and political science at Atlanta University. And so I'm talking about spiritual things, and he's having a problem with it. Now, it's not that he's disagreeing. See, he's not the kind of person saying, oh, you're crazy. He's just saying, I'm having problems trying to understand this stuff. And I was saying that's because you're locked in a certain mode. Somebody came and gave you a computer chip and told you that everything has to go this way. I said, so you know, I'm trying to deal with this. I said, just deal with it for a month. And I said, after a while, you would deprogram your mind to where this particular stuff would actually make higher forms of sense. And the other stuff would just be the stuff that's normal and conventional. And that's what we got to do at this particular time, because we're not talking about anymore just following groups that talk about making an advanced black person and it don't have anything to do with no fucking education. As a matter of fact, we can say, and I can say in actuality, the people who run this world, did you get that cult technology of power?
Yeah.
The people that run this world, the Illuminati, they got several names. They have what is a blueprint of their owner's manual. When you initiate into the society, they give you a manual to go by. And in that particular manual, they tell you that education in America is not allowed. So that means I don't know what the shit you got. Here ain't no goddamn education. That's what the East Indians said. Western education, that might be a good idea. That might be a good idea. So apparently what we have is a form of training or manicure type of training or whatever to manicure food, ignorance polished over ignorance. But what we don't have is education. Otherwise you wouldn't be in here tonight. You see what I'm saying? And that's what we got to understand. How is it that we can be the most educated since we've been here and the most asinine and the most idiotic? That means that obviously it's not a matter of something being wrong with your education. We're not educated. I don't know what we got. It's a process of rote learning or whatever that thing was, but we're not educated. You see. So we want to pour libations, different African deities and get the energy in the room a certain way. And also this will teach you in the future if you so happen to want to get into something other than falling on your knees and praying and still ending up in the damn prison. They got a lot of niggas up in prison right now praying. And obviously you didn't do a damn bit of good. Because when the man wants your behind, you pray all the hell you want. That's begging. That's begging. Oh, that's good. So we need to, now look at, now you might say, I'll tell you something about that white boy. If it don't produce results, he gets rid of it. He don't hang around like you 30 years into something, ass out, old, prison, everything, and you still hanging on to the same belief system. With him, if it don't produce results, he gets rid of it. And the only reason why you see them still into something is you think, oh, it's all divine and they're all good Christians, because Christianity works for them because they rule the world based on it. Remember that thing, you got the land and they got the Bible, now they got the damn land and you got the fucking Bible. So that, obviously that Christianity is paying off for them. And that's a form of world control. And that's what it says in the book, The Cult Technology of Power also. It says all those religions haven't had the same hold. This was in the 70s. Now religion is back strong. Ask C.D. Jakes and them niggas about that shit. It said although religion don't have the hold, this is something that we can always count on to enslave people with. You see what I'm saying? And that's one of the keys. And when we're talking about, now, and see, there's a difference. Religions are nothing but organized forms of political control based on some aspect of moralism that you're supposed to know by the time you're in the 10th grade any damn way. That's what a religion is. We didn't have religion, we had educational systems. That's the difference. Spiritual educational systems, and there was no separation. You see what I'm saying? But what we have now is inspirational ceremonies and moralism. It has nothing to do with spirituality whatsoever. That's it. Nothing to do with spirituality whatsoever. You see, and we can get into that debate. That's a no-brainer. Yeah, you know. Let's go. Let's get. But if you have problems with that, that's what the whole thing is. It's not a matter of attacking something. It's a matter of you enhancing and trying to learn on a greater level what's going on. If your religion can't be enhanced, that means that it's got to be very inferior. That you can't take on no outside forces. That it's got to be the same thing that the white boy gave you 200 years ago, 300 years ago. Because apparently we didn't give that to the world. Not that aspect of the brand of it. We did give that a part of it, but not that stuff they got in these churches. Remember now, anything that's good for you, he ain't never gave you nothing good. Out of here, he gonna give you some good religion. You see what I'm saying? But that's what it is. It's a religion. You see what I'm saying? We'll get into that particular part also too. So let's pour the libation. And you know the deal, I pour the libations. If you seen the tape, you go, I shake. Laura Banda, I shake. Mr. Negro, I shake. Mr. Murphy, I shake. I shake. China. I shake. Mr. Eman, I shake. Spiritual Entrecola, I shake. La Luna, I shake. Francisco de Street Radio, I shake. Mr. Ray, I shake. Manja de Agra, I shake. Sovita, I shake. Diana, I shake. Sue, I say Lily, I say Alibra, I say Septon, I say Henry, I say Awa, I say Samuel, I say Mel Texas, I say Patah, I say Apollo, I say Siva, I say Almaki, I say Kevin, I say Doc, I say Yase, I say Springer, I say Bethel, I say Brothers, I say Damalaweko, I say Oguki, I say Mars, I say Bella, I say Omitu, I say Mojo Bokitu, I say Mojo Boris, I say Malku, I say Kaiman, I say Rudy, I say Shire, I say Legba, I say Lekaya, I say Osef, I say Lucifer, I say Sut, I say Anu, I say Nidohosis, I say Alakum, I say Wakala, I say Shadium, I say Shakma, I say Ha, I say Tipper, I say Helios, I say Shango, I say Vishnu, I say Rasha, I say Asa, I say Rhea, I say Amati, I say Underdu, I say Kotika, I say Kosi Opo, I say Mercury, I say Rahel Kudi, I say Nuke, I say Beth, I say Beth, I say Ali, I say Maya, I say Second, I say Sirius, I say Susan, I say Andrew, I say Eru, I say Aaron, I say Arya, I say Adrian, I say Dominic, I say Nexus, I say Andrew, I say Dr. Oduwa, I say one more. Hold on. Oduwa, I say Magdalena, I say Tolima, I say Makali, I say Richard, I say Phil, I say Ogukureli, I say Mojo Borlaki, I say Mojo Institute, I say Tutu Alepa, I say Tiko Nishamaki, I say Wakabawaya, I say Yumo, Kosi Indra, I say Top, I say Melanin, I say Edos, I say Asporos, I say Bass, I say Beth, I say Mahudi, I say Sirius, I say Koisi, I say Dambala, I say Gargo, I say Laki, I say Maleka, I say Pan, I say Sutte, I say Tamus, I say Ilisuti, I say Baru, I say Adon, I say Arim, I say Afriil, I say Bilzebub, I say Baal, I say White Buffalo, I say Dagon, I say Doman, I say Thunderdome, I say Jimagagan, I say Hectic, I say Adon, I say Yilnan, I say Mono, I say Siva, I say Saki, I say Sita, I say Sita, I say Rada, I say Krishna, I say Paka, I say Sukan, I say Ba, I say Ka, I say Azalo, I say Apollo, I say Belzo, I say Beuba, I say Shama, I say Thunderdome, I say Yogan, I say Imija, I say Kali, I say Belzekin, I say Lida, I say Lamawain, I say Rarim, I say Newt, I say Abbott, I say Tiger, I say Tyson, I say. All right. You tell I'm used to this thing. And basically this builds a certain energy field up. It permeates the house, it permeates your body, and this is things that you can do, other sciences that you can do, and also what I'll do is I'll leave this list behind, and you can get some of these copies, okay, and give them out to the people. All right. And so basically, leave this libation list behind. And basically, these are some things that you can do. It's also called a mantra. It's also called a wazifa in Islam. And basically, a certain amount of energy, you know, gets up. And basically, if you look at it, you find these remnants even in the Christian church. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? When the person be, you know, and all this, and you know, hallelujah, and all this kind of thing ain't going on, you know. You ever see this stuff here? So basically, what basically that's a mantra. You keep doing it over and over, and it builds up a certain energy field. Right. And all. So a lot of this mysteries is lost, but they even do it in the church. You see what I'm saying? And that was part of the early part of the church was they re-Africanized it because it was different than the white people stuff. You see what I'm saying? They re-Africanized it, so the white folk came in and studied it. Now they got this whole prosperity bullshit. Like, it's this kind of idiotic thinking, actually. I wouldn't want to worship no God that would bless me and wouldn't want to bless others. And these same other ones been worshiping him just as much. So then somebody done slipped in and got this whole prosperity thing going down because they had to update the religion for the new type of Negro. That's right. You see what I'm saying? They wanted to take his religion along with his damn BMW and Mercedes. You understand what I'm saying? So they had to update this stuff. So what it is, the government came in and studied it, and they gave you these charlatans like T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, and all these particular people. You see what I'm saying? And this is nothing but a high-tech government advanced system. You see what I'm saying? And the only thing they got to do is put Jesus up in it, and you automatically think it's doggone authentic. Yet you got a doggone 100 years of doggone charlatans, black and white. You see what I'm saying? Now, how it is we got these idiots out here doing this, and yet they showed you in the late 80s when all the doggone white preachers started falling by the wayside. You remember the ones from? Jim Baker. Swagging and all falling by the wayside. This stuff was nothing but a game. And now they got it back, and they're doing it with the whole T.D. Jakes and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? They got a black preacher that's got a $70 million church going up. So in your mind, because you think that's beautiful, they're giving it to the Lord. They ain't giving shit to the Lord. What the hell God need a damn building for? This thing it's on Crenshaw Boulevard. This thing looks like a forum. It's literally a coliseum. Then they moved out of the forum, and some black preacher is buying the fucking forum.
Yeah, that's right.
You see? Buying the forum, and they outdoing each other. You see? And you thinking this got shit to do with the Lord. Well, what the hell was you doing in the 50s when you was in a shack? I just want to see the concept on here. When you was in the 50s and you had a doggone storefront, you see what I'm saying, or a podium, or a tent, was you less spiritual? You hear the concept here? Yeah. Was you less spiritual? And now they got to doggone check your doggone. You know, they check their W-2 forms, right. Scan your fucking credit report, right. Your debit card and all this shit when you come up in there, and you thinking this shit ain't insane, and you thinking this got something to do with God? You know, because nobody don't challenge shit. Right. Nobody wouldn't dare come on TV and challenge this. You understand what I'm saying? Because they've already told you that, hey, the black preacher can't go wrong. You know what I'm saying? So this is a form of mind control. Because the whole prosperity thing. Now look at the science on this and see what's happening is this. The white man sees us coming. He said, wait a minute, hold on. Isn't this the same Crenshaw Boulevard where we down here wiped out a whole generation of people? From the late 80s and the early 90s? With all the gunshots and the crack and all this? It is the same Crenshaw Boulevard. And you mean to tell me you get $70 million that you're going to amass and you don't put in an industry? You people been in the goddamn country and you've been out of slavery for 135 years? And you mean to tell me now you got enough clientele and sophistication you can amass $70 million and you don't put in no industry, and Microsoft didn't start with that shit? Didn't start with 70 million. Walmart didn't start with 70 million. You got $70 million to put in a damn building. And they're looking at your ass in China saying, look at these people. They are still fucking savages. Yeah. You ain't nothing but a damn savage when you come up here and you got on a damn $700 Armani suit, driving a doggone Mercedes-Benz or a damn Navigator or whatever you SUV shit, Land Cruiser or whatever. And you mean to tell me that you 100 and damn near 30 years educated and you can't do no better than to take $70 million and don't build no industry? You know what I'm saying? Even if you say, fuck it, I'm just going to manufacture shoe heels. You can make millions from the shit. You're going to put it in a damn building. You see? And you're supposed to be the educated people. You see what I'm saying? So obviously they're looking around the world. In Taiwan, they say, them people still savages. Because we don't understand the way we're viewed globally. This is some insane stuff that's going down. You see? So, but then again, that's the herd mentality. You know, we walk around all day and we never even think twice to think outside of the box. Hey, say, hey, look, something is wrong here. You know? Because that's the role that they got us, and this is the insanity that we are in right now at this particular time. Let me give you some examples of what's going on around the country to let you know. We start off with a lot of things on the mundane level, then we go into the advanced science. Let me show you how they run this stuff. See, they can, first of all, anything that comes on the TV set on your behalf is automatically something that's planned for you to react a certain way. They don't put nothing on their TV sets on your behalf. I don't give a damn what it is. Including when they drove that black man down the street in Texas. Don't you know that that was a government shit for your response? Oh, no. And they know you're going to go run it. Every year, it's like clockwork. Every year, it's like clockwork. They say, listen, I'll explain what's going on. Let me give you an example. They know based science that was given to them by our ancient people. At certain times of year, you have summer solstice, winter solstice, spring equinox, fall equinox. And they understand that at any minute, any given minute, you can wake the hell up and regain certain powers that can take back the planet. And it don't make us if they got all the guns and the bombs. You got a certain energy in you that will kill up everything on the doggone planet. This is scientific. We'll give you some of this information in a few minutes when you go into the metaphysical thing. But they just know also, too, that you can also become conscious. And they can no longer hold this grip on you because your minds could wake up. So therefore, every winter solstice, spring solstice, fall equinox, let's see, spring equinox, fall equinox, summer solstice, winter solstice, they have certain cardinal points and in between, like a cycle, that they do certain things to shut you down by taking your attention and putting it over here when there's some shit going on over here. So you best believe every summer they got some stuff that's going on. So when they drug that man down the street here in Texas in the spring of the year or whatever, that was to create a certain response. They know they can get you all upset. First of all, they got black people dying every damn day, and that shit never make the TV set. I'm sitting on the steps in 95, a helicopter come by, shoot a nigga 15 times. Didn't even make the news. But then they can drag a man down the street, and it make national news. You see what I'm saying? But yet they have thousands of things going on every hour. Don't even make the news. But yet all of a sudden, there's some new thing because they done drug a nigga down the street. See what I'm saying? Happens every 5 minutes. But the key here is they televise the thing to get your response because they know it's a certain junction coming up that you might get free. And if you don't study, they know they study the shit. So therefore, they drag the guy down the street. They get the news all in on it. Then they got all the niggas down here marching and stuff. And you all mad. You know you ain't going to be mad for 5 days. Maybe 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 2 weeks. And that's it. Meanwhile, goal and objective has been solidified and has been met. You see? Same thing here with, they got this South Carolina flag thing going on. Remember this? All this shit starts in January 2000. You see what I'm saying? Now look at this. Look at how stupid this is. Now, first of all, they look at these people saying, we got a flag that's just been hanging up here since 1865. First of all. Right. All the crackers got the shit on their bumper stickers and in their windows. Number one, it ain't been active since 1865. Now let's look at this. They can come in and they can raise this thing talking about the flag and all this kind of thing, and they get all these black people. And then we look, we got damn near almost 200,000-300,000 people ascending on South Carolina to raise hell about a flag. Meanwhile, they're looking at it and saying, look at these same damn idiots. We came and told them in 1996, we put crack in the community. Told them we put the crack in the community. They didn't march, they didn't raise a damn eyebrow. But yet they can march over a flag that ain't been active in damn near 150 years. But yet they came in 1996 and said, hey, all your niggas that's in prison, a million of them, we put them in there because we put the crack in the community. And we didn't even raise it. No, we got so asinine about it. We said, well, why don't you? And they said, okay, what we going to do? We're going to investigate ourselves. Kind of shit. I come in your house and raise your damn daughter. 2 years down the line, I come back and say, hey, our racing, it was good. You turn around and say, oh, what, this is horrible. You say, hey, wait a minute. Let me take about a month and investigate myself. And come back with a goddamn decision. Do you see how insane this is? Wait a minute now. I raised your daughter, I said it was good. But let me take about a month. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to investigate myself. And then I'm going to come back to you. And I'm going to give you a conclusion, whether I did it or not. He's a raper. You know what I'm saying? You already know what the answer's going to be. So they say, hey, we'd rather the CIA and mine put it. You do since the damn 1960s they've been putting the damn dope in this community. You do since the 30s. You know, you do since they've been doing this shit to the Indians with the alcohol. This is American history. Are we idiots? Right? You've been knowing this from outside. We don't want no boats. We don't want no planes. We don't want no... You say this as a doggone cliche. It's so embedded in your memory, you know the white man put dope in your community. Now the white man gonna come up in 1996 and say, hey, I might have did it. I believe I did do this. Then he said, wait a minute, hold on. We're going to investigate ourselves. They go and investigate themselves, come back like 3 weeks later and go, guess what? We didn't do this shit. And black people go, okay. And you don't think we savage? Does this look like the mark of a people is going some damn well?
No.
And why do you have to have a white man to validate you? And when you cast doggone judgment on a person? What's that, brother?
Check it out, though. Everyone tripping over the Confederate flag, the same people who used that produced the one that everyone walk around that Tommy Hilfiger shit on.
Well, see, now on that too. The Confederate flag is almost like Mickey Mouse compared to, but not on that too.
The 50 stripes, the 50 stars, and say.
But the Confederate flag is almost like Mickey Mouse compared to the American flag.
It's all this stuff, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to say, yeah, but the key here is these people are going to march down on South Carolina. Now, what was going on here? Apparently, because here it is again, we don't believe in ourselves, but they watch us and they believe in everything.
That's right.
Apparently, one of the only surviving traditions from Africa in the continental United States, there's several in the Caribbean. You got the whole voodoo thing, or the voodoo thing in New Orleans was brought in by Marie Laveau, but it had its inception in Haiti. But one of the only surviving spiritual aspects from Africa, that we can link as a type of system or language or a cultural aspect was the Gullah thing down in Beaufort, South Carolina, and in the lower part of South Carolina, the Geechee thing.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And they have a Gullah festival every year. So the white man said, wait a minute, hold on now. This is the year 2000 and we're running scared. This Gullah festival can't go off because it might produce a certain energy to wake these niggas up. And we just do not know what God or we are dealing with right now. So they got together, put the whole flag shit up. And meanwhile, as a result, the niggas say boycott. You idiot, you don't boycott your stuff.
Boycott their stuff.
You boycott their stuff. You don't boycott your tradition. You think that you gonna damn boycott Hanukkah or Yom Kippur or whatever that stuff about 400 holidays they got? You think they gonna boycott? You don't boycott that. And you think the stuff is not going on? You gonna boycott your sacred spectacle. You see what I'm saying? And they boycott, didn't have the Gullah Festival this year, took money out of their pocket. This is a sacred spectacle, but they don't supposed to stop no time. Meanwhile, the white boy, he said, mission accomplished. Take the flag and put it down on the bottom of the pole somewhere. And immediately after that went off, they put the flag down. You see what I'm saying? And this is the way they do things. That whole thing that went down with your boy that got shot 45 times. Now, come on, man. You think for one damn minute they gonna shoot a nigga 45 times and they gonna put that shit on TV? Did you know they have a right to kill you and can't nothing be done? You know what I'm saying? That thing right over there, this nigga pulled out the gun. And you think that guy be all over? That they shot him and they so fair? That they would put the thing on TV? You think that's going on? And then you surprised that they acquitted both people? You think that they juked that boy, Lou Weaver, up the ass? Or a year before that? Now here these people in the jail. Oh, we done plunged him up the butt. Oh, I guess we in trouble now. Call the media. You know what I'm saying? And you get it on the news and you think that some stuff has just happened and it's a fair society. This society kills people for breakfast. And yet one little man gets juked up the butt. You think you get it on the news? You see, this is to create certain responses at certain cardinal points in a junction of a cycle. Because they understand on a higher level, because they're dealing with a higher science that we're going to get into tonight, on what's actually going on. And we can't understand this stuff at all, because we think the society that we live in is actually real. technology of power is, whenever you announce that you live in a free society, you can start putting people in slavery. That's the mystery to it.
Yeah.
I tell you, you free, that makes you vulnerable for slavery. For the mere fact that I told you was free. Clearly we know that, for example, with black people, we ain't never been free up or down. But see, the key here is, they tell you it's a free society, but yet they give you 18 million laws. You understand what I'm saying?
Tell you what not to do.
Tell you what not to do.
All things you want to do.
You know what I'm saying? And you think you're in a free society. First of all, they say give them a monarchy. No, they say, first of all, if you give them a monarchy, they get jealous. They give them a king or queen, you're like, oh, I don't like that royalty shit. Well, you better than me. So what you do is you let them elect somebody. Meanwhile, they say always show a flaw or something messed up by the person they elect. Oh, Clinton got to come on the dress. You know, Clinton, or Jimmy Carter, whatever. Reagan, he dyed his hair black at damn 95. It's got to be something that you look down on them that makes you feel that you're in control. And they say you want to think that you're in control. And so therefore, if you tell them they're part of the electoral process, which is a joke, you ever thought about this?
Go on.
Did you have a flashlight up in there counting some damn votes? You take the damn man's word for it. I'm going to ask you something. Did you stand over there and count some damn votes? So how the hell you know who they pick? And you know what's as simple as that? It ain't even about no electoral college and none of that other bullshit they tell you. It's about they already know who they going to pick 4-5 years ahead of time. You see what I'm saying? So the point I'm trying to make is, oh no, did you count the damn votes? How the hell you know? Is this man an ultimate liar?
Why is it electoral college?
But I can see even that is some bullshit. The electoral, all that stuff about the electoral college and all that's bullshit. That's what I'm trying to say. Even that's bullshit.
Nobody.
It ain't even dictated the electoral college anymore. Smart people go, oh, the electoral college, your vote don't count. That's even bullshit. They had this shit planned up there in 20 years down the line. You remember they had your man came in and told him, Nixon said, Alexander Hayes, why don't you just resign? And Nixon said what? And missed out on Iran-Contra, missed out on the Iran's takeover of the hostages. He gave them about a 10-year radius. The shit was going to go down in the 80s and they done had it blueprinted. And this was 1973. So even that is an illusion. It doesn't exist. They say,